What's up, Jets fans? Welcome to the latest edition of Jets Latest, where you get the latest on the Jets, Jets. I'm your host, the spitting statistician, Dane Martinez, and today we continue to talk about what we saw in the preseason opener against the Green Bay Packers and really what we are continuing to build, how we stand right now at training camp, and beginning to look forward. Now, again, the debut of Justin Fields was impressive. The debut of Aaron Glenn was impressive. But not to be outdone, we really start today on Jets Latest with the debut of our 7th overall pick, the first draft pick of the Darren Muji era, and that is Armanu. I mean, he also had an impressive debut in his first ever NFL action. I mean, he was blocking on 10 pass blocking snaps, right? And he allowed no quarterback pressures. The thing I think is most impressive is the opposition he was going against was the first team defense of the Green Bay Packers, and he was against Kenny Clark, who is a 3-time Pro Bowler. He was against Rashawn Gary, who is a Pro Bowler. Also in the run game, remember I said this yesterday, that really the Jets O-line was moving the line of scrimmage, and Armanu was part of that. If you remember Braylon Allen going for a chunk run of over 10 yards, Armanu really helped clear the way. That was a little bit of a run to the right side that Mumbu was there for. He earned, actually, I like the PFF grading scale, right? He got a 77.9 pass blocking grade from PFF. And just for context, if you're in the 70s, that's like a quality starter in the NFL. That is above average. Grades in the 80s are considered to be real good, like at the Pro Bowl level, and grades in the 90s are absolutely elite. That's where you see guys like Sauce Gardner. So the fact that Mumbu in his debut looked good, didn't allow any pressure on Justin Fields, was good in the run game, and what I think was the best part, he was going up against high quality, high caliber competition on that starting defensive line for the Green Bay Packers. I think that was really, really good. So we talk about Mumbu, we talk about this draft class that we could see, right? And at least Mumbu, Mason Taylor didn't play. We did see a little bit of Malachi Moore. We did see a little bit of Arian Smith as well. Flash with some speed. I thought it was important. He was open over the top on one play. He made a nice grab in traffic, Arian Smith. So some of the rookies that we did see did look good in their debuts, specifically Armanu. The other thing I want to talk about here, coming out of the opener against Green Bay, that I think is important, we said that Aaron Glenn said he was going to play his starters, and he did for just like a drive, at least Justin Fields, right? But also, during training camp, there's been talk that the Jets are going to be physical. The Jets are going to be in pads. The Jets are going to tackle. And some people say, let's be cautious because there's always the risk of injury. Well, we are through that first preseason game, and the Jets got through that game relatively unscathed. Here's what Aaron Glenn had to say after the game in terms of injuries. He goes, quote, "When it comes to the injuries we had, Isaiah Davis had an ankle. I think he'll be just fine. Lazard had a shoulder. He'll get more testing to see what that is. And then Kenny, the punt returner, kick returner, Nguanu, has a calf. I think he'll be just fine also. Other than that, I think we came out pretty clean with everybody else." And the reason I think this part is important is because, remember, some teams are scared to play their guys, to go hard at practice during the summer because of injury. Aaron Glenn, however, is trying to establish a culture of aggression, physicality. And we definitely saw that with the 2 turnovers, some of the other plays that we saw against Green Bay. But it's good that I don't know if you want to say took that risk, but decide to go with this approach and are kind of unscathed. We'll see what happens with Lazard's shoulder, but remember, we are deep at wide receiver, and I saw Tyler Johnson running as the wide receiver 3 over Lazard anyway. Arian Smith and others could be over Lazard anyway. But the good news is we are clear with one of our 3 preseason games, and we didn't have any major injuries that really upset the apple cart. The other good injury news is this, that at the end of the weekend, the Jets have also activated Jermaine Johnson off the PUP list. This is incredible news. Remember, Jermaine Johnson went down with the Achilles injury. He did start on the PUP list, so we didn't necessarily know when he was going to be activated, at what point, kind of the idea of the progression of his rehab. But the fact that they have activated him means we're going to see Jermaine Johnson on the practice field, and that is good news because there is still time left to go. That is great news for the idea that Jermaine Johnson could be opposite Will McDonald as edge rushers going after Aaron Rodgers in the regular season opener against the Pittsburgh Steelers. The other thing I want to talk about, and I alluded to it earlier this week, I alluded to it last week when people were saying, oh, the Jets passing game doesn't look great in practice. Maybe part of the reason is because they're going up against Sauce Gardner, and they're going up against what I am going to project as one of the top defenses in the NFL this year that can make a lot of people look not so good. They made the Green Bay Packers look not so good. They make Jordan Love look not so good, right? And he's respected as a good young quarterback. So I think that iron sharpens iron aspect of it is definitely something that is a good thing for the Jets, and something Sauce Gardner was talking about, specifically about him going up against Garrett Wilson all the time in practice. Listen to what Sauce had to say. He goes, there's something that happened in his, meaning Garrett Wilson's life, that makes him attack the game in a different way right now. He's trying to work on everything, in the weight room, on the field. He's trying to perfect his craft. Literally everything to show people he's worth it, he's worth. He's on his stuff. Every time I go against him, he's giving me great work. Every single time. He's not taking no plays off. I appreciate him for being like that. He's that guy. When it comes to the best that I go against, that's him. Day in and day out. I just know when we go out there, he's going to go do his thing. I think that's great on a number of levels. One, it is clear that Sauce Gardner, Garrett Wilson, these are two cornerstones for the Jets. And remember, they were signed to kind of matching extensions through the 2030 season. They are going to be in the fold for the rest of this decade as we continue to build this new Glennaissance, right? So I think that's important. Also, it's also great to see these guys going hard after each other. And not only these cornerback wide receiver matchups, right? We've been talking about how it helps a guy like Brandon Stevens covering Garrett Wilson. We've also heard this in the trenches, right? We heard Quinnen Williams talking about Armanu. We heard Armanu talking about Will McDonald, right? I think that is also another kind of byproduct of this, and I think it is really, really good, and it is really, really aligned also to the culture we are seeing Aaron Glenn trying to build very early, that we started to see take root against the Green Bay Packers, and really this culture that I think will be beneficial to us as we go through the tougher times of the regular season and in this longer term as we really build this organization back to what I believe it can be, what I know you and a lot of you viewers, subscribers, and watchers of Jets Latest believe and hope it can be. So that'll do it for this episode of Jets Latest. We will continue all week long to talk about what we are seeing in camp, what the guys are saying in camp, what we see in the joint practices versus the New York Giants this week, as we then have our second preseason game on Saturday, the Snoopy Bowl against the New York Football Giants. But let's check in with some of the regulars here on Jets Latest. Thank you so much for getting down with us. We have crossed 2,000 subscribers, and we're going to find ways coming up real soon for you guys to get more and more involved with Jets Latest and really be a part of this community. So keep an eye out for that, to be sure, whether it's something I say or you see the link in the descriptions of the videos coming up soon. But GSD Mickey 2976 says, I just want to see the Jets show us that they're improving and that the offense is not stagnant. I hear you, right? We want to see these baby steps. Hopefully you did see that against the Green Bay Packers. We see more against the Giants this week, and we see more of that vision. It did look a lot crisper. It did look a lot more multifaceted. And to be honest, the biggest part for me, and it did look like that offensive line was moving people around. Big shout out to two of our biggest regulars here on Jets Latest. Sharon McLean says, will Ruckert Suckert? Will Stone Cold stun us? Let's go Jets. That was going into the game against the Green Bay Packers. And again, I want to mention Andrew Beck looking good in that kind of H-back, tight end, fullback, right? Kind of Justin Fields taking the check downs. You saw Aaron Glenn talk about that. And Beck is an interesting guy. I talked about him once or twice previously in Jets Latest, how he has experience under Darren Muji. Muji targeted this guy, very versatile, something that Aaron Glenn likes and could be kind of one of these H-back weapons. Another guy to keep an eye on that was playing with the ones when Mason Taylor was not there. So we talk about Ruckert, we talk about Smart. Don't forget about Andrew Beck. And then another big-time regular, Old Dave, 1000. Shout out to him. Even, here's what I like, referencing other regulars on the Jets Latest channel. Old Dave says, like Sharon McLean, I've been a loyal Jets fan since 67, and like Sharon, I am a supporter of your show. I appreciate your insights and perspectives. Keep it up. Well, listen, people like Sharon, people like Old Dave, people like some other ones out there, Evelyn Lopez, who always gives me gunk about talking about the New York Jets versus the New Jersey Jets and all that. I appreciate all of you guys. Please continue to watch like, subscribe, tell a Jets fan friend to tell a Jets fan friend, because we are building something here, not only on this channel, but with the Aaron Glenn, Justin Fields, Darren Muji led JETS Jets. And as always, remember, if you want to hear more from me, the spitting statistician Dane Martinez, I am the host of the FTN Fantasy Show over on SiriusXM Channel 87, the Fantasy Channel. It is getting down to it. Fantasy football drafts are out there. Feel free in the comments or on social media. I am at Spittin' Speeds. Hit me up. Ask me fantasy questions as well. That's how I came into this business as a fantasy analyst. I do a ton of expert drafts with big-time names that you know. So if you need me to help you win your leagues and win that cash, I am here for you as well. And the FTN Fantasy Show, the FTN website, is a great tool, great content, rankings, all sorts of data that I use to be a better fantasy player and a better sports bettor. But we'll be here all week long during training camp. It's getting exciting because people see the promise, the optimism, the potential here. But as Aaron Glenn notes, there's still stuff to work on, specifically those undisciplined penalties. So we'll see if that becomes a point of emphasis even more this week. And remember, keep it locked here. Plenty of ways to continue to be a bigger part of the Jets Latest channel and a bigger part of this community coming this week as well. All right, so keep an eye out for that all this week. But for this episode of Jets Latest, we out of here. Peace.